Listener supported, volunteer powered. We are KPOV Bend, Oregon. And this is Merle Evers.
The views and opinions expressed during the following show are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect that of KPOV or High Desert Community Radio.
She's a real woman with a real life. She's someone you can relate to. Open Air with Dawn Newton.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Open Air. I'm your host, Dawn Newton. You're listening to 889 KPOV, your High Desert Community Radio, where we're streaming live online 24 hours a day at kpov.org. You can find us on all the social platforms, which is Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can find me on those platforms as well, Dawn Newton. And don't forget our KPOV app. Make sure you download that on all your handheld devices. Coming up on today's show, I'm excited to have in studio guest with me. Starr Waxman is here. She's a local author, and her new novel is coming out. It's a historical fiction by the title Amelia. It comes out on February 21st. And Laura's going to hang out here with me for the next 50 minutes or so and just talk about, I really love interviewing authors, telling those stories, and how, I love books. I love to read, and how authors are able to put these stories together, writers, screenplays, things like that, to tell a story, and then the details, especially when it's historical fiction. She had to go back in time. And also, this is set in Portland, Oregon. So we've got a lot of local content here that Laura's providing to us, not only just with herself, but in her writings as well. So stay tuned. We'll take a really quick break. We come back. We'll turn Laura's mic on, and I'm going to introduce you to her. So stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Open Air. I'm your host, Dawn Newton. Joining me in studio, Starr Waxman. She is a local author, regional author, and resides here in Central Oregon. And her book, Amelia, comes out and will be available February 21st, this Friday. So I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
And Christian is here helping us, running the board, and so he might chime in as well if he has questions.
Hello.
We're just going to have a great conversation. First of all, I really appreciate you coming in, and I've started reading the book, and it's really good, so congratulations.
Thank you. I'm super excited.
Talking to authors and writing, I've always had this admiration for them, whether it's a biography, writing your own autobiography, historical fiction. Historical fiction, I think, is my favorite because it does take you back in a time. What drew you to that particular genre?
I grew up reading historical fiction with my mom, my grandma, my aunts. That was mainly what we read, and so it just kind of felt natural when I started writing, which I did really young, to just start writing in that genre. And
then picking this particular topic, because it's set in Portland, Oregon, which I thought was really cool to do that, to see kind of our own. I mean, I'm born and raised in Portland and lots of family and history there. So it's always cool to see that and doing that history. Were you always a writer as a child, or how did this get started for you?
Yeah, some of my earliest memories are writing short stories, and it just kind of worked up from there. I started writing a novel in high school that got deleted.
It got deleted?
Yeah, on one of those.
By mistake or intentional?
Accidental. Those like floppy disks, old school, whatever those were called. Anyway, yeah, I've been writing kind of forever. And
who was your inspiration?
I don't know that I had one particular. I really loved Lori Wick and Jeanette Oak were two authors that all those family members, we just passed books around. And I feel like the Amelia kind of has that same theme and feel without some of the aspects, because that's a very specific Christian authors, those two are. But so I guess kind of those two without being an intentional inspirations, I guess.
Did you always want to be a writer?
Yeah, that was the one dream out of all the ones throughout my life that I always kind of came back to and always stuck with.
And so you were raised originally from Central Oregon.
Yeah, we moved here when I was 8, so
it's been,
essentially
that'd be hometown.
Yeah,
and then you spent some time in Portland.
Yeah, my husband and I were there for 7 years.
And then couldn't wait to get back.
Yeah, that's why the book is set there, though, is because I really started working on it when we lived there, and it just felt right to have it set.
I mean, that's one thing too, is the writing. When did you decide that you wanted to be a novelist, or, you know what, I'm a writer, I'm going to write a book?
I started writing this, I was still a newlywed, and had this idea of a young girl in that society wanting to be a journalist, which wasn't very common. But I didn't start thinking of myself as a writer until years later. I was just writing it because I had to. So it was an interesting mental switch to think, no, I actually am a writer. I'm not just doing this because I like it or whatever. It was a definite how you think of yourself shift, I think.
Well, and that's the thing too, because of vulnerability when you write your stories, and we had, before we went on air, talking about people that just like to write for fun, and it's like, oh, you need to publish this stuff, you need to put it out there. What do you think stops people from doing that? Because I think we all have a story, and then as we write things, I don't know if it's that vulnerability, the judgment, am I good enough, all those things that writers, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, because you did get published.
Yeah.
And, you're like,
weird.
no, I'm going to publish.
Yeah.
Because there is a vulnerability there.
I don't think of that too much. I probably will when reviews start coming in.
Yeah, stay off social media.
Yeah. But I think there is some of that fear. I think for some people too, they just are writing for themselves, so they don't have that drive to see their books on bookshelves, where I've always wanted that.
That genre, it was late 1800s.
Yeah.
I'm curious the research that went into that. How much of it you already pretty much had, because we have so much history here just in Central Oregon around that time. Our museum is really pretty cool. Yeah. But what else went into that, creating that? Because that's the one thing that I always think, I'd be afraid I'm going to get something wrong. I'm going to insert something that they're going to know. I'm going to out myself.
Part of it. Yeah. Because I grew up reading the genres, and I've always loved the Victorian and Gilded Ages. That's just my favorite. It's always been said I was born in the wrong era. I was not supposed to be born modern era. So I kind of have known a lot of the things about these eras anyway, but a lot of just deep diving on the internet and finding trustworthy sites and places. I built up it's fairly small still, but a library of books to research about etiquette and fashion and prices of things that don't ever actually make it into the novel apparently, but I still need to know. So,
how long did it take you to write the book?
Well, I started it almost 12 years ago. Wow. But I didn't start actively working on it. It's probably about maybe 6 years ago. But I was chronically ill for about 12 years. So that, it wasn't a hardcore full-time job.
Right.
Actively working on it. But, yeah.
And as far as when you started writing, how do you just kind of tune out the world, or how do you find that space? Or because I know sometimes when I'm working on projects, it's like I need complete away from everything, no distractions, no nothing. But that doesn't. Some people are writing on the fly as they're walking down the street.
Yeah, I don't do that. I used to when I was younger. No, I have some sort of background music going. I have to have a hot drink. And I typically will start with dialogue in this scene just to even know what the characters are doing. And then I have to go in and figure out explaining where they are in a room, at a park, wherever. But yeah, it typically has to be the right moment setting for me personally, and then actually figuring out dialogue because I don't know what these people are going to do until it's on the page.
And this is going to be a series, if I was reading this right, Rose City Collection.
Yeah. So not a traditional series that you read 1 to 4 or whatnot, but just you can read them in any order, but it's in the same world. I mean, there will be spoilers if you read like the next one coming out, Georgia. If you read that one before Amelia, there will be spoilers, but they will be almost standalones inside the collection. And that's going to be really fun.
So there's going to be 4 in the collection?
Well, I don't know how many there's going to be, honestly. I guaranteed 3, but there's 2 more ideas. So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then just the vision with that. The story, setting it in Portland, what was the reason behind that?
The etiquette rules were a lot more lax than on the East Coast, which made it a lot easier to write and for her to actually be able to go after being a journalist. That was because it started out in New York when I started writing it, and bringing it to the West Coast was the right move. It fit.
Yes, it's very interesting, Portland and its history. I mean, it's very colorful.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, when you start digging, you wouldn't think. And did you go to the museums, the Historical Society in Portland?
No. It's terrifying. It's awful. It's embarrassing. You weren't supposed to ask me that. No, I didn't. Because I was ill, I couldn't go to a lot of places. I couldn't get out and about much. So,
and you were there in Portland during COVID too.
Yeah,
so that
hindered it as well too. Because I was really diving deep in writing it and a lot of research when COVID hit.
And then,
ironically.
yeah. And then coming back to Central Oregon.
Coming back, yeah.
Yeah, quite a journey.
Yeah, it's lovely to come back.
And Amelia, I'm always curious on these stories who she is. Is she somebody in your life, somebody you would like to have known? Is it yourself? How much of you do we see in the story?
Well, she's a redhead with green eyes. So there's distinct resemblance accidentally there. I think there is some resemblance to me just in the beginning, especially that wanting, kind of clumsy, unsure of herself, and wanting to figure out who she is and where her place is in the world, in society.
Well, and that's what's so interesting too is Amelia. What I'm hoping for is her mother sends her to the West Coast because her mother doesn't have a lot of patience.
No, her mother is not my mother. I need to be clear.
Well, that's the other thing is some of the
Best friends
characters.
with my mom. She's fabulous. My mother is not an example of the mother in the book. It's separate.
Well, I'm waiting for Mom to get her comeuppance, so
yeah.
I'm hoping that happens. But she's sent to live with her aunt, Aunt Angie, in Portland.
I love Aunt Angie so much.
And it's just so interesting because I think we can all relate to that. Not so nurturing, loving, patient adult in our life as we're growing up. But there's always that when they say it takes a village, or the people that actually, thank God I had these people in my life because I wouldn't have known or helped save me.
Yeah.
And Aunt Angie really sees Amelia. Amelia isn't a problem.
Yeah. No.
She's just trying. She's a young girl trying to figure it out with a very impatient mother. But she's very lovely. You grow fond of her really quickly. But that whole scenario, and that is so common. Where I don't know that I hear that so much with boys and males during that time being sent away. I'm sure that did happen, but we see a lot of it with females.
Yeah. Well, back then, males had more worth.
Purpose.
Yes. They were viewed. Women weren't viewed as they're. You know what I'm trying to say. They weren't as wanted, I guess you could say. So I wonder if it did happen still back then. That'd be pretty fascinating. But yeah, you definitely hear more about it. Women, the girls, just.
And that is what's interesting too. Historical fiction and adding. The fiction piece to it, but the historical piece, keeping that accurate and the stories in, because they are pretty accurate into what reality was.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some, and not that this is, I'm careful to say, it has, not that it reminds me of Bridgerton, but it has that era somewhat to it. And, thinking about what it was like for women and struggling and trying to be allowed to have a voice.
Yeah.
And especially she's wanting to enter into what was at that point considered a man's world in journalism.
Yeah, very much so.
And so the tenacity that she had and the guidance that she had. Was any of that anything that you've experienced?
Yeah. Yeah, I think in certain ways I've definitely had those people that have just really pushed me to when they know I want to do something, but I'm too scared to just encourage me to just go ahead and do it and not let anyone else pull me back.
No, and I think that's the thing too is sometimes, did you ever find yourself listening to those voices that maybe weren't so encouraging? Were you giving them a little bit more volume?
Yeah, I definitely did when I was younger as well. I think that's just part of being younger. You listen to those voices more. And then even the last couple of years, I've had to really push them back again because they've reared. As I decided I wanted to get published and then to self-publish. That was its own separate.
And that's something too I want to talk to you about is the self-publishing because that's another thing that authors, I've interviewed a lot of authors and how many no's that they get waiting for a publisher to accept them. And this is a different arena where you didn't have to experience that.
That was intentional. I started looking for agents and I was doing, you have to do so much to even be ready to reach out to an agent, which I understand, but I realized that it could take me 2 years to get an agent, and then it could take another 2 years to even get published, even when I found them. And I wasn't willing to wait that long, so I started researching and looking into self-publishing.
And so with this type of publishing, you've self-published the first book. Could it evolve into a publisher stepping in?
Yeah. A lot of times I've read that it can. Because you've proven, you've built up your own readership. You've proven that you're less of a risk than being a debut author. So I think I would like that in future to end up being traditionally. But you do lose a lot of control over your own book by going the traditional route. And so I have really enjoyed that of
the autonomy and the control.
Yeah, maintaining every decision is mine, which is overwhelming, but it's good.
Talking about, too, your love of vintage, of nostalgia, because just researching and then looking on your Instagram, just the typewriter, the books, anything vintage. I share that love. I love, the old typewriters, the handwritten recipe cards, the notes, the old postcards. I have postcards that my dad received from like 1925 and how they were handwritten, and those we just don't see that anymore. Even sending out Christmas cards, I love that. People are like, why are you sending them out? Because I want to keep that going.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to connect. I actually have a hard time not buying those. When you see the photo albums, the black and whites, it's just this family's history. I have the hardest time not buying those and just keeping them safe.
Yeah. Well, and I remember I saw it one time, because you see in movies of those period pieces where the letters, the love letters between couples, where they would tie them in ribbons. Oh, and I actually saw that in someone's home one time. Oh, wow. Just like, wow, you really did do that. It wasn't just something that we see in the movies.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I'm at the point, too, where I'm seeing my childhood in antique stores. So
I know. Yeah, me too.
I'm like, I could probably sell this. I wonder how much this is worth. It's still in good condition.
Yeah, getting a letter is a lot more meaningful than a long text message. You ever get like a paragraph text message? Yeah, it's like, oh, geez.
Yeah, to think that somebody took the time to write, because we don't, cursive really isn't a thing anymore, but I'm going to keep that. We're going to be the coders later in life. We're going to have to interpret and decipher things, but also taking the time to actually handwrite something and get a stamp, get an envelope, take it to the post office. I mean, when you think about that, some people think, oh, that's too much work, I'll just send a text, like Christian just said. And it's like, no, I think there's something meaningful when somebody does that.
Yeah.
But we're just that generation.
I love technology for sure, but we've definitely lost a lot in gaining that.
The personal touch.
Yeah, the personal touch, the heart in things that we do.
So that nostalgia piece and how some of us are drawn to it and some of us aren't. You've clearly drawn to that.
Oh, yeah.
And then passing it on to our kids and explaining to them what that is really interesting. I'm curious, too, the self-publishing route. And I've interviewed, I would say probably over the years I've been doing this, probably close to 100 authors, if not more. And I'm always curious, how many no's somebody gets. And I've had some authors say they've had hundreds of no's before they got published. And one of them, I will say, Catherine Stockett, the author of The Help, that went on to win awards. Viola Davis was in that. Merle Evers-Williams, a friend, she's been in the studios. She's the one that actually introduced me to that book. But when I interviewed Catherine Stockett, I was like, my gosh, how many no's did you get? And she goes, I got hundreds. And then it just took that one. So with self-publishing, you don't have that experience.
No.
Which is just go straight to publish.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome, but it also will lead to a publisher too.
Hopefully.
And is that what you want?
I'd like that. Yeah. I'm even doing a hybrid eventually of traditional and self, I think would be kind of ideal for some other plans I have for writing. But yeah, self-publishing just seemed the way to go for me for right now.
Is it your dream? Is it every author's dream? Kind of like when I think about musicians, that you want to get signed and you want to get the contract, that you would want it to come to life. Streaming, miniseries.
Oh, no. I don't know how I feel about that.
Because I think there's that piece too, the creative control, the autonomy, and how that gets translated.
Yeah. My focus when I dreamed of being a writer was just that's what I got to do every day, because I'm doing it anyway. I have to get these stories out. And so just being able to have that be my career, it's never gone past the, getting turned into a movie sounds so weird.
Who would you want to star as Amelia?
Yeah, I've been asked that. I've never been able to answer. I can't.
That's the thing, is I think the assumption is, we want it to take off and be big, but this is just your heart and soul.
Yeah.
And putting that out there. Challenges along the way, when you were deciding to self-publish, how did you go about making that happen? Is that difficult things to watch out for?
It was kind of once I decided to do it, it just happened. My husband and I had met Leva of Bright Light Graphics, and that's what her business is helping authors self-publish. And we had met her just in the community here in Bend already, and I didn't know that's what she did. And then I started looking into self-publishing and found her website, and I was like, wait a second, I know her. And so we met, and it just kind of just took off from there.
From the time that you decided to self-publish to the 21st, how much time was that?
Decided in the spring of last year, and I started actively working on it in May, I think, June.
And then picking the artwork, the cover.
My sister-in-law took that, the cover photo. Actually, that desk is my great Annie Opal's. I'm going to start crying. My great Annie Opal's desk, and the things on it are just items from my home and my mom's home. And some
very
of those
cool.
things being my grandparents' things that we just kind of pulled and put onto the desk. So it's pretty, I love seeing it just for that reason too.
Well, and it depicts the story so well.
Yeah.
Challenges that you faced writing. I know there was health issues, writer's block. I mean, like right now you were saying during our quick break that, you're working on your other book. Your mind's still over there.
Oh, yeah.
And then trying to stay present, which, I mean, we all deal with that in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Is that an ongoing thing for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, Laura, are you here? Are you here?
I have 3 stories of being actively worked on in my brain behind the scenes. So yeah, I do zone out in situations because that I can't help it.
Makes for an interesting family dinner.
Yes, they're used to this though. It's normal.
And what about when you do get a writer's block? That's just, it's not working today.
Yeah, I clean my house really well. I get a lot of cleaning done, and I read a lot of other books. There's a certain line that you can try and force it. You do things to get your brain back into that mode, but a lot of times you kind of just I've found, you have to just let it go, and then come back and try again the next day.
I work in visual art, and you have to let it happen to you. You know, like you can't control when it's going to come. Going for a walk is great, cleaning is great, but sometimes it takes a new day.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I wanted to ask you what it meant to get it out, quote unquote, out, in there, because this could have been just a pile of papers on your desk or a long Google Doc or something.
Yeah.
Like, what did that mean to you to get it out of your head and publish it?
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to me that proving that I can do it.
Right.
That I can't.
Life's about proving things to yourself.
Yeah, to yourself for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And up and coming writers, I know you're like, what's your advice, Laura? And you're still like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, pushing through, because like you said, there are a lot of people just like to write for fun, and you're looking at that writing going, wow, you should publish that.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing that in other writers, but then also when you see that in yourself, where that comes from, and, advice to up and coming writers.
Keep writing. Yeah. Keep writing. Learn how to edit well.
Is that just something that you just do on Word?
Grammarly.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't actually like
Chat
Grammarly.
GPT, all those things.
Yeah, I just write in Word docs. Learning to edit your stuff and remembering that this sounds this way to you because you wrote it. If you don't feel like it sounds very good, it probably sounds better if somebody else reads it because they didn't write it. Because I feel like sometimes my writing is just terrible. It's trash. But that's because I wrote it.
Well, and I think, too, when we were talking earlier about having too many people look at your work.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, I think I'm going to edit the people reading my work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to be particular who you let read. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what you're expecting from them.
And realizing, and that I think that comes back to knowing yourself as a writer and trusting yourself and knowing, no, this has to be this way. I'm not, whether somebody wants you to soften it, change it, use a different word. It's like, no, so I think that's also something that, that learning who you are as a writer.
Yeah, learn your voice. And my editor told me multiple times, this is like, stick with your voice. Like, that's a great suggestion, yes, but that's not how you write.
Yeah, I find a thesaurus can be your enemy sometimes. Like when I dated a girl many decades ago who she said I was asking for advice on like writing or something when I was in college, and she's like, yeah, don't use the thesaurus so much. And it's stuck in my head to this day. So.
Yeah, it can be a downfall. Yes.
Yeah.
So the book comes out on the 21st.
Friday.
We need to have a party.
Yeah.
Are you having a party?
Hopefully, yes. Yes.
And we need to have a book signing. Mm-hmm. We need to. I think this is the part the coming out from behind the desk.
Yeah.
That an author needs to embrace as well, because that's your comfort zone. Let me have my desk and my paper or my whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And let me just hide here, which is really cool. I mean, I love to hide in a book. That's, I mean, I remember as a kid being told I was rude. I was being antisocial.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm staying out of the way.
That's what you want me to do.
Right? Isn't that like I'm reading? But that's how much I love books. It was just, I love to read.
Yeah.
But that is another piece of it as an author.
Yeah.
And doing interviews like this.
Yeah. It's getting comfortable. Yeah. Not being behind the desk.
And, and you're going to get asked those questions of, because you're now in that arena.
Yeah.
So that piece of it too, when you kind of evolve into that arena where it's almost, I mean, I can say that even doing a radio show, it was almost easier to talk about it, kind of practice it, do little practice sessions in our studio. But then when we hit that on-air button, it's like, here we go. You're in it now. And, so I think I can appreciate that. Speaking to public, doing readings. So we're just getting you ready.
Exactly.
Christian and I were just
It's easy. It's fun. Anyone can do it. Yeah.
And the inspiration you'll provide to others.
Yeah.
That's true.
So has your family all read the book yet?
No.
Oh.
My mom read an early version of it, and my aunt, but no one has read it since. Actually, I've kind of hoarding it.
You're like, no, not yet. Not
Specific friends can read it.
Oh, that's
to get
funny.
feedback. But yeah, it's we'll see.
Well, that is. I can't imagine that as an author that you're not protective over your work.
Yeah.
Then you just have to let it fly.
I know. It's interesting. I'm like, no, don't read it. But here, people everywhere.
And so what
It's
are the
interesting.
next couple books going to be about?
Side characters. We're going to see Georgia next. She's going to be the main character. And then another one is going to be Harrison. Which I'm so excited for those.
So how many do you think you're going to have? You don't know yet. It probably depends on how it...
Yeah, because there's other thoughts. But at least those three. We're going to...
Will they all be set in Portland?
Potentially, yeah. Georgia definitely is. I'm pretty certain Harrison is. Maybe not all of his book, all of his story. He might come to Redmond. He might come to Bend. But we'll see.
How cool would that be?
Still that local feel.
I was going to ask that if you're going to cross over the Cascades with any of the feature.
Yeah, I'm having some Harrison storyline thoughts for that. I think that'd be really cool.
So how far are you into Georgia?
I'm editing the first draft. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd like to publish it next year.
And how long did it take you to write that one?
I don't know.
So that one, because now you're in a flow. Clearly.
Yeah, I finished Georgia and got it Amelia, and got it to a good place and just jumped into Georgia, and then have just been bouncing back and forth between that and Harrison's, and then some other books I have going as well. So I was surprised I had a solid first draft.
So do you have Georgia and Harrison going at the same time?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's actually helpful when it's kind of that series type of thing. To know where these people are going later on from the beginning. I have learned this.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, being able to do that and doing some other writings while you're doing that.
Yeah.
So that is full time.
Mm-hmm.
What is your setting when you're writing? Is it just in a room by yourself? Does everybody need to disappear?
Oh, that would be impossible. My husband works from home, and my desk is, I have this huge desk, but it's in our main living area because I don't have a separate office. It's my dream one day. It'd be really nice. But yeah, if I have to put headphones on, I'll put headphones on.
So when you're not writing, what do you do?
I actually crochet kind of obsessively. I make amigurumi. Do you know what that?
I do not.
Okay. It's crocheted. I think it came from Japan. I might be wrong. But they're crocheted like stuffed animals or dolls.
Oh, cool.
They're wildly popular, and I absolutely love them. I make them to sell occasionally, but I can't stop crocheting. My great aunt taught me, and when I was a kid,
I think that is
can't
making
stop.
a comeback too.
Yeah, it is.
I'm
It's
seeing,
fantastic.
definitely.
I love it.
To
I love
see
seeing people
kind of
just
that pendulum.
Mm-hmm. I went on a cruise for our 10th anniversary and took it with me, and I and the 80-year-old lady on the whole cruise ship were the only ones doing this. It was embarrassing.
Oh, I can only
But it
imagine the
was great.
stories, though, that she had to tell.
Yeah.
That only she could tell.
Only she could tell, yeah.
And that's very cool.
Yeah.
So in addition to crocheting, like Christian said, when you're getting bogged down, it's like just get outside, go take a walk.
Yeah.
Do we have animals, things like that?
Yeah, I have 2 golden retrievers that.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. They think my full existence is for them.
You've been riding long enough, Mom.
Yeah, it's been
Give us
20
us-
minutes.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
get
yeah.
outside.
We have a
It's
2-year-old lab that
ridiculous.
does the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm bored.
It's
I need to stop doing the human things.
Yeah, you can't underestimate the power of something that says let's go outside right now. And there's no choice.
Yeah. And they're staring at you right next to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Incessant, and then they start whining.
It's like,
You
no,
have to. Yeah.
even a little bark every now and then. Like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey,
I'm
now.
here.
Yeah.
I'm earning your kibble.
Exactly.
Let's work
You want
this
your
through.
treats, don't you? Yeah. Yep.
That work-life balance. And so do you shut off at a certain time of day, or do you leave it, come back, wake up at 2 a.m. type of thing?
I used to work late into the night in the wee smalls, but I'm too tired nowadays. So normally by 5 I'm done. Yeah.
We were lucky to get you in today because you were like 5 o'clock.
It's so late to be out.
What are we doing? But at least it's still light out a little
It
bit.
is.
So,
Yeah, it's nice this transition.
so where do we learn more about you, Laura, and where do we find the book?
So I have a website. It's my full name, laurastarrwaxman.com.
With 2 R's in Starr?
From Belle Starr. That's where the name came from. And I'm on social media, Instagram, and whatever else. And
we're going to have to beef that up as you
we're
get
gonna have
bigger.
to help that. Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna have
I know.
to.
We're lucky. I'm on Instagram. Anyway, it actually is going to be at Roundabout Books up in Northwest Crossing.
Nice.
Paperback. I'm really excited about that. And it's on Amazon. It's ebook and paperback. So yeah.
Is that? Are you going to do a audiobook? Does that appeal to you at all?
Eventually, yeah, but not. It costs a lot of money.
We'll do the voices for you if
There
you
you
want.
go.
We know.
Yeah, actually,
we
pro
sound
bono?
great, right?
Oh my God, that'd be fun.
Fantastic.
I don't know. We'd probably get edited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Make sure we're true to form.
Yeah.
I've been on radio for about a month now. I've got a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think that's awesome. Well, like I said, I love talking with authors, just especially historical fiction, the details and how you go to that place to write, and then the research that you do. So I'm always been a fan of that. Plus, I love books, and I can't wait to get a copy of yours, which I need you to autograph.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do that. So, and I want you to come back when George is ready.
Yeah.
And then Harrison and any other stuff.
And any others.
So
Absolutely.
she'll be skipping in here. She'll be fighting to come and sit behind this microphone. Wasn't quite the case today. But that's okay. This is good. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you so
And
much.
Congratulations on the work. Well, yeah, that does it for me in today's edition of Open Air. I want to thank my special guest, Laura Starr Waxman. Congratulations on your book, Amelia, which you can find online. Roundabout Books
Yeah.
will be available there as well. And Christian, thank you for joining us.
thank you so much.
And
This was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was so fun to learn about.
next
you
week,
know,
let's see, what have we got? I'm not sure. Next week, it changes every week. So, but come back next Wednesday, 5 o'clock, and we'll have plenty to entertain you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Open Air is written, produced, and hosted by Dawn Newton.
'Cause I'm